Yo, what is up guys? Nick Nakai here, Let's Drive Media. Thank you guys for coming back to the channel. It's your first time here, please hit that subscribe button down below. So today's episode, we're gonna do a little side job on my buddy's Nissan 2012 Pathfinder V6. So all brake pads are pretty low, they're at 3 mil. This is actually gonna be the first job done in this garage. So I kind of just want to make a quick little video. I know it's just brakes, but you know what? It's our first job in this garage, so it's pretty awesome having somewhere to work covered in a shaded area. Like, it just feels great down here. Yeah, I still have to work on the floor, but I mean, just being in a covered space, guys, is freaking awesome. So anyways, without further ado, tools you're gonna need and parts. We're gonna be replacing the pads and rotors on these because I'm not about to resurface these rotors, so it's gonna be a little bit easier. Brake pads, rotor, hardware kit, 21 mil to take off the lug nuts, 14 mil take off the brake caliper, and a 19 to take off the caliper bracket. And brake caliper expander tool. This one's a Cornwell one, which works out pretty nice. Works on fixed calipers and floating style calipers. And not sure if I'm gonna need these, but really excited to try out these Capri super thin open end wrenches. You'll see why in a second. So first things first, gonna jack up the car and pop off the wheels. So pretty much any brake job you're doing, if it's this floating style caliper, is going to be the same. You're going to pop off the 2 nuts in the back, or bolts, that hold this caliper on, pull it off, pop off the pads, and continue. So sometimes when you're doing a brake job and trying to remove these caliper pins or bolts, the sliding pin will spin with the bolt when you're trying to take it off. So if you have a regular wrench, usually they won't fit inside here. You see this one's super thin. But I mean, sometimes they don't get stuck. This one, I don't think it's gonna be stuck because it doesn't look that rusted. But these Capri wrenches seem like they fit pretty good, or you could always vice grip it. But I always wanted a pair of thin wrenches, so it's kind of nice to have. But let's see if they spin. Nope. No, they weren't stuck on there, so we didn't end up having to hold that sliding pin. We got lucky. And there you can just usually pull off the caliper, set it down somewhere. It's not really a good idea to let it hang off the brake line, even though some people do that. Then pop off the pads. See, this pad was pretty low, right about the edge of its life. And from there, there's going to be 2 19s on the back holding this bracket on. Just go ahead and unzap both of those and you can remove this whole bracket, and you can see the rotor's already pretty much ready to come off. Alright, so once you take out both of those bolts holding the bracket in the back, you just pull the bracket off and the rotor should just come right off. Sometimes the rotors are a little stuck on there. You have to smack it with the hammer, or sometimes you got to be careful too. They'll even have a lock nut or a screw holding the rotor to the hub. So just keep an eye on that before you go smacking away if the rotor doesn't want to budge. So now pretty much it's go in the reverse order. Just put the rotor back on, put the caliper bracket back on, put the brake pads in the caliper, and go from there. You get new hardware, just replace the hardware. Don't be that guy. Last thing too, before you put the caliper back on, if the car's equipped with these spring pins, go ahead and insert those into the top and bottom. All I gotta do is open up this caliper so it'll fit back around the brake pads. Should be pretty much done. caliper on. Another thing to be careful, make sure you don't have the caliper twisted. I've seen that before, people kink up the lines, and then they wonder why my brakes are overheating and my brakes are already shaking when I'm stepping out and going down the highway. Put the 2 caliper bolts back in. Also recommended to re-grease these sliding pins since you're gonna have them off already. Especially if they're like really rough and sticky, because then it'll cause one brake pad to wear out unevenly. Nice little tap. Don't over tighten those. I've actually broken one of those in the past when I was doing like probably my first brake job on my Honda Civic. Tightened it too far, it just broke the head off and the caliper was just flopping around like that. And one thing too, remember when you are retracting the piston back into the caliper, keep an eye on the brake level or brake fluid level, because a lot of times if people have the fluid filled to the max line and you go to push those pistons back in, you're going to overflow this and spill brake fluid all over the place and it's going to make a mess. So yeah, just double check everything, make sure your line's not kinked up, make sure all the bolts are nice and tight, and pretty much it. Put the wheel back on. And another huge thing to not forget, because I've done this before too, is don't forget to pump the brakes. It's going to go all the way to the floor those first couple times until it makes contact with the brake pad. So I just do it a couple times just to make sure. You don't want to be that guy that drives into the toolbox at work because you didn't pump the brakes. So after you get it all put back together, you just got to go for a nice test run, no hard braking, just kind of ease in onto the brakes to break in the new pads and rotors, and you should be good to go. So hopefully you learned something from this. I know it's kind of a very gravy style job. Brake jobs are pretty easy, but you know what? Wanted to film an episode in the garage as this was the first time getting to work on a car in this garage, and it is freaking awesome, man. I can't wait for what the future holds. So thanks again for stopping by the channel. If you made it this far, drop a comment what other content you guys would like to see, but besides that, have a great rest of your week. Peace!
Hey, Bill, I'm in the mood for a switch up. I hit the function, hit the rose till I hiccup. I hit the stage and leave with money that say stick up. She picture perfect, so I told him I'm a flick up.